Hello, everybody. Don't you all love surprises? Because I got one here for you. And I'm with some amazing lads over here. Welcome to a very long-awaited project that has been on the back burner for the last 2 months. And as you can tell from the title, we're going to be talking about Gundam 00, which I'm so ecstatic for. And I'm here with 3 fellow wonderful, amazing dudes that all share the same love of this show that I do. So I'm going to get them to all introduce themselves. Introduce yourself, fellas.
Somebody go first.
Somebody go first. You can go first, David.
All right. In that case, Lita, I'll go first. Greetings and salutations, cool cats and cuties. I'm David Majors. Some of you out there might know me as DJM. I've done a few podcasts in my day.
Fair enough. I'll go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Scott from Mechanical M&A Reviews, which is a WordPress blog that I have, and I have part of an inconsistently updated podcast named Inanimate Anime Podcast. So, thank you for having me.
And greetings to one and all my friends. My name is Adam, but I go by Drak Online, so you guys can check out me on YouTube. I'm actually under the handle Drak2326, where I do a lot of gaming content, but since I'm, just a geek in everything, I don't necessarily restrict myself to just gaming content. I'll review anime, I'll review movies, TV, all that fun stuff, and I'm just a general geek overall in life, especially about giant robots. Love them to death. I'm talking
Are we talking about mechs? I thought this was about a cooking mama.
Well, damn it!
Both. Don't they have
passion? I thought he nearly sounded like Optimus Prime.
Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're not talking.
One shall stand, Lita. One shall fall.
Unfortunately, we're not all talking. I would love to talk about Transformers, but we're not here to talk about Transformers. We are here to talk about what I think everybody here feels is one of the most underrated Gundam of the franchise, one of the series. So we are talking about Gundam 00, but before we get into that, I think we all should express how we actually all got into Gundam or the mecha genre itself, because I'm interested to know, because I don't know any of you of how you actually all got into the genre itself. So I think for starters off, I'm going to get Drak to start us off with. So how did you get into the Mecha Gundam side of things? What was it about it that just was so alluring?
Well, do you want to know how I got into Mecha or how I got into Gundam? Because,
both.
Well,
you might as well just do both, because they're in combination.
Gather around, everyone, and hear the tale. So from a very early age, I have loved giant robots. That's just the way that it's ever gone. Like in my neighborhood in the 80s, if you were watching G.I. Joe, you were the average normal kid in the neighborhood. And I was not, because I would not watch G.I. Joe. In fact, I didn't like G.I. Joe. I instead watched Transformers and another fledgling series that a few people might have heard of here and there called Voltron, Defender of the Universe. And that was actually kind of my gateway into anime. And I always looked for shows that were of that particular style and kind of started me into that fandom. Years later, however, because Gundam took a while to actually get here, in my high school years, a friend of mine knew my absolute passion for anything giant robots and said, dude, you've got to check this out. I've got this VHS of something called Gundam Wing. I was like, that's probably not going to be as good as Voltron. What the heck are you talking about? And then I watched it, and it opened my eyes. And it was amazing. And from there on in, I paid overwhelming prices for 3-episode VHS tapes to finish out Gundam Wing.
Wow.
And thankfully, we don't do that anymore. We pay for 15 episodes on a Blu-ray, which is a lot more appropriate.
Those were the bad old days, everybody.
That they really were. But Wing was actually what kind of started me off. And after I watched Wing, I that was when I kind of got exposed to, holy crap, there was so much stuff that came before that. I especially love that people were telling me it was roughly the equivalent of Star Trek for Japan. I'm like, oh my gosh, because my family was big Trek fans. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have my own Star Trek, and I'm not necessarily the biggest Star Trek fan. So I would watch it, anything that I could actually get my hands on, which unfortunately wasn't anything before Wing. It was everything after. So like everything after that point, I knew a few of them. And now I'm actually, the last few years, I've been going through them, since now that you have the deal with Right Stuff and a lot of these DVDs are actually making their way back. I'm going from series 1 all the way to modern tellings. So that's kind of my exposure to mecha as well as to the Gundam franchise.
A lot of that sounds very familiar.
Yes, it does, Gundam Wing. So, why don't you tell us, Scott, how did you get into the mecha genre and then leading into Gundam slowly and then just becoming a crazy fan like the rest of us?
That all kind of happened at the same time, mecha, Gundam. I'm one of those Toonami people. So, but to go beyond that, like, I grew up in a family that was absolutely obsessed with any form of science fiction, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate, Babylon 5, And so, well, one day when I was home from school, because Toonami was on after school, I saw this thing called Gundam Wing. So it had all this space stuff with the politics things, but it added giant robots, and I was just hooked on it ever since I saw that.
Yep.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it's not that grandiose, really.
dude, you were already one-upping me because you had access to Toonami. I mean, I didn't have access to that until my 20s.
Oh,
wow.
Dang.
Wow.
So, like, I got to watch the tail end of G Gundam on Cartoon Network and loved that series, too.
Oh, yeah, that's insane.
Can we just do another series on G Gundam, because it's hilarious? And
I need to actually rewatch that one if we do it. Let's have David first before we
I haven't seen like the main ones. But seriously, till you're 20, you didn't see Toonami. How is that possible?
The cable so we had cable TV, but the provider that we had was a local one, not necessarily like Comcast or any of the big ones. Comcast actually came in, and that's how we got access. But the cable provider that we had, it gave us access to some channels, but a lot of the other channels that were being offered by DirecTV and Comcast at the time, Cartoon Network was not one of the ones I got until my 20s, when that's basically when Comcast came in and bought our cable provider and gave us the package kind of grandfathered in.
Oh, okay.
My story is very different with Toonami, but how did you, moving on to David?
I will say that for me, I vaguely clearly, one of those two, remember watching Transformers Generation 1 and Voltron and getting the idea that, oh yeah, this is that Japanimation stuff. And then I found my first love, which was Tekkaman Blade, also known in the US as Technoman. This was my anime awakening. Fast forward a few years later, during the boom of Toonami, and when Dragon Ball Z was the biggest cartoon on the planet, I was, in my school and in my neighborhood, I was what you might call the Gundam evangelist. I was the guy that was telling everyone, watch Gundam Wing. It's such a good show. And along with that, watch Big O. Watch all of these giant robot shows. Oh my God, I love giant robots so much. Big O, Megas XLR, Martian Successor Nadesco, all of them. All the giant robots. Just give me mechs. Give me all the mechs. I love them all.
See, that was like the cool time to be part of all that. Like watching Adult Swim and Toonami. You had Big O. You had things like Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop. So much sci-fi.
Oh, the space era. I love it. I wish
the story that I always tell is that in my high school at the time, when just about everyone had Dragon Ball Z t-shirts. Me, being the anime hipster that I am, I was the first kid with a Gundam Wing t-shirt because I was a hipster and I loved Gundam Wing.
It has been popular in Z, though, I think. It still had that popularity.
It could have been Mobile Suit Gundam. It could have been Gundam Seed. It really could have been any of them. And eventually I made my way to Gundam 00. And so far, depending on the day, if you want to ask me, Gundam 00 is my favorite Gundam series. Depending on the day, it might be Zeta Gundam tomorrow. Ask me later. And whenever people always ask me, well, I'm interested in Gundam, but there's so much of it. I don't know which one I should watch first. I always tell people, watch Gundam 00 first, because in a nutshell, it's Gundam Wing, but better.
Yeah, it is.
I tend to I tend to go the approach like with friends of, okay, what do they like more, this or this, and then I go with whatever Gundam kind of fulfills their niche. So, for example, like the friend of mine that loved Wing, but he never really loved anything else. So that was kind of his niche until he went and saw Universal Century. But then a friend of ours was like totally into fighting games. So at that point, the only reason he knew about Gundam,
obviously.
Yeah,
yes,
but actually the exposure wasn't just G Gundam. There was also a fighting game series, if people remember it, called Gundam Battle Assault. And that's how we got him into it. Just like, oh my gosh, Gundam can be this fighting game. And then we introduced him to G because of that. And another example that I bring up is the one that I do for 00. A friend of mine loved post-apocalyptic kind of stories, loved stories where the world was very desolate and everything was kind of grim, and then I recommended
Gundam X.
00 to them. And I hadn't seen X at that point.
Okay.
I actually just So again, I'm making my way through the series one by one. I'm currently in Victory right now, and I just barely got my first access to Gundam X. I didn't have anywhere where you could get Gundam X back in the day. So I'm actually looking forward to watching it for the first time.
Victory Gundam is not the first Gundam to start with. Do not start with Victory Gundam.
No, don't start with Victory. I'm learning that lesson now. I am learning it. Trust me.
Oh, I'm freshly learning it because I've not seen any of the ones that you mentioned.
People can literally go to
Lita. Would you like to take a Gundam journey with us, Lita?
No. I would recommend so many other series to her than Victory.
I'll guide her through it. I'll guide her through it.
Okay, but we
can start with Gundam 00. We'll start with 00.
That's the best one to start with. Maybe including Iron-Blooded Orphans. Maybe.
But no, for the record, I started at the beginning. So like my first one was Wing, but then eventually when I made this promise online, I started with 0079, and then whatever I could get my hands on, I would watch. So I've gone all the way from 0079 to Victory, and then I'm getting ready to start up G after I finish Victory.
Okay, so you've gone through the entire Universal Century then.
Pretty much.
All right.
I'm so happy to get out of the UC. I really am.
I'm in no zone. I'm just stuck in the black hole.
I'm trying to think of. I would say the only thing that I'm missing is that I have not completely finished Gundam X. I haven't finished it. Other than that, I'm waiting on Gundam Narrative later this year.
Yeah, me too. That's where I'm at.
True, me too.
The only Gundam I haven't watched is the one that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't watched anything new since because of this promise. I haven't watched anything new since Build Fighters Try. So at that point, like I wanted to stay fresh for them so that they could be the first time I've ever watched them. So IBO, never watched it. Build Divers, Reconquista and G, I haven't seen that. Or this narrative one, and I'm looking forward to getting to those series. I decided with this promise to stick with the narrative here, pardon the pun, and just go from series to series and make my way up.
Fair enough.
I'm just making my way anyhow because how I got into like Mecha and Gundam is very different to you guys. So like I guess I would consider myself like, I think I was like more of a loner in it, because I got before I moved countries. It started all back in the UK. Let me take you back to a 10, 11-year-old me, which wasn't so corrupted as I am now. Going back to how you said, Drak, that you couldn't watch Toonami since you were like 20. Toonami was not it. How I had access to Toonami is very strange, because the provider I remember we had, the TV provider, there was this one guest channel, and it was called Guest Channel 99, and it would be on the off chance that Toonami would appear one day, the next it wouldn't even be on that channel, it would just be a black screen. I don't know even know how that was just kind of weird, because one day I'd get to watch a bit of Wing, and then Toonami channel wouldn't even be there on this Guest 99 channel. It was really weird. But eventually Gundam Wing started showing on Cartoon Network, and then finally Toonami ended up on Cartoon Network, and that's how it worked in the UK. So way back when, Gundam Wing was like my first Gundam, like it was for you, Drak, and for many others probably. I have not revisited the series in over 10 years. I do own it. I just have not rewatched it. I don't remember a thing about it. I honestly don't. I mean, how can you when you're like 12 years old? And then I didn't get into, honestly, I didn't watch any like robot series until I honestly moved to Australia. I met my friend, and that's when I was introduced and got into a whole bunch of the Gundam series. Honestly, the first one after Wing I watched was Gundam Seed Destiny. Now, at the time, I did not know
of all the shows, Lita.
I know.
Ooh.
I did not know at the time.
I'm so sorry. You had to brave Shin Asuka
before watching Destiny. So I'm just like, Destiny did it for me. Like, right. I was so in love with, I had, of course, being how younger I was, I wouldn't have an idea about what was going on then. I was just so entranced by like these young boys piloting these giant robots. And it's like, what? I felt a bit crazy. I'm like, I'm a girl. I shouldn't like this stuff. It's like,
oh no, Lita.
Stuff.
That was like, something that I learned in high school when I was roaming around on the internet for random Gundam Wing fan art. That's when I realized that girls really like Gundam. Girls really like cute boys and giant robots. And that's, I don't know why. That's where I was introduced to the world of shipping.
It never left. Yeah. You never left.
Oh yeah. I don't. Just for the record, I don't ship anyone in 00. Okay, maybe 2, but
that's what I was gonna say. Confess. But no, I want to backpedal this a little bit, because I find your argument about why you didn't want to watch it funny, considering like you're probably one of the prime people who has been making the argument for me to watch Sailor Moon, even though I think, as old as I am, that would be kind of creepy, because I consider Sailor Moon to be a girl's series.
No,
even though that's kind of stupid now to look at it. But you're like the one who spearheaded that charge.
Because you know what? I know 2 dudes that do a podcast. I can't remember the name of the podcast. Damn it, I'm sorry. But they've been covering every single episode of the original series, covering it. And they absolutely love the series. It's called Moon Silver Podcast or something. I will find out later for you guys. But yeah, a couple of guys, and I'm listening to them. While I'm listening to them, I can just tell how much they love Sailor Moon. And I just don't think Sailor Moon is just for girls. You know, it's the same obviously with Gundam, you know, like, oh, no, it's just a guy thing.
And Lita, what I've talked about in the past, when I was watching Rosa Versailles, that show is a shoujo anime, but it was out in 1979, the same time as Mobile Suit Gundam, the original series.
Yeah.
And Mobile Suit Gundam in 1979 also had a pretty strong female following. So for everyone out there, girls have always been in this fandom. Always.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
I think the thing that is discussed most is like when it was decided, hey, let's throw in to get the female audience getting a grip, reel them in. Let's add like some romance element where like now realizing some Gundam series I've watched where I can only say one actually covers it all right is like obviously the romance element. Let's bring in the romance element. Let's cause some drama. I mean, there's only one series Gundam series I feel that, you know, works. It works well enough, but I haven't come across a Gundam series where the romance element really works really well and like has me like on my heart is on the edge of the cliff, like, oh my god.
Have you watched Wing? Have you watched Wing?
Yes, I have, but remember,
Okay.
like I haven't rewatched it in 10 years. It's like sitting on my shelf, and it's still.
See, to me, there's actually a lot of romantic elements in Seed and Seed Destiny. To me,
Oh, no,
because
I've seen Seed
following
now.
Kira and Lacus is actually like one of my favorite relationships in Gundam as a whole. I really do
Yes.
like that relationship, along with, and I have to preface this because Gundam fans will get mad at me. I like Athranzala and Kigali Yulaatha in Seed, not so much in Seed Destiny. What they
I
did with
agree with
Athran
that.
was stupid.
Yes, it was.
Why would they be upset about that? Why would
I've actually come across
You're
forums
not
that
wrong.
would surprise you. I would come across forums that would literally surprise you. We'll get into that with Double O and the hatred that I actually saw in some forums for it. But yeah, it was like I would go to these forums because they were the only ones I could find online via Google, you know, like Google or Metacrawler searches. That ought to make everybody feel old. And go to these places and I'd be like, wow, everybody loves UC. Apparently it's like the greatest thing ever. And if you like Seed or Wing or G or I think the last one I went to was Age. And all of
if that
you
is
are
still a thing
apparently
in 2018,
Are you really surprised that's still a thing if it is?
Well, thankfully, I tried to go back and go to these sites in preparation for this podcast. I can actually say that a few of them are still up and running, and the opinions on those forums have changed.
are
kind of
these
drastically.
Angel Fire sites?
Oh, don't.
One or two of them were,
I can feel
still
the
were
age
GeoCities.
from that one.
A lot of the ones I got access to were GeoCities sites. So at that point, a lot of those are shut down now. But the few that are still up and running, yeah, the opinions have kind of drastically changed on those forums.
Well, good.
Well, I never personally got into any forums, just for the record.
Now
Good, good.
the fight is whether or not to like build fighters, as it's supposed to be more of a fans kind of series. Like it takes the series as a whole, the legacy of the series as a whole, and puts it into
Haven't
kind of a
seen build
Yu-Gi-Oh,
fighters.
a Pokemon kind of filter. And
I
Oh, come
I
on.
like
It's Angelic Lair.
no,
I
I'm
have so
saying
much
like
to
I like
catch
build
up on.
fighters, but I also love like the serious series that come out of Gundam. So Double O, Wing, G to some extent, even though it's hilarious to
God.
listen to that dub. Age is also one of my favorites and recommend it wholeheartedly to people. And even
Yeah,
like,
that's how I feel.
and here's the thing, like not all of UC is hated by me. Like I love 0080 and 0083, but that's about it. Like and Zeta to some extent. I like what Zeta tried to do. But everything else like
Well,
Oh, God.
we can definitely have a conversation about Zeta, but I'm ready to talk about Double O. I really
Yeah.
am.
That's why we're
okay.
here.
All right. Just for the record, it sounds like I got so much to catch up on Gundam wise. Holy crap. Okay.
Anytime you're ready, Lita. Anytime.
All right. So, we could just scrap talking about Gundam Zero. Everything else sounds interesting as well.
Already said it.
You're all.
We're already here.
I can.
Let's
Yeah.
do Double O.
I have
Let's do it.
fingers.
angst
I can-
to release here. So let's do it.
I know. I can hear your fingers screeching along the chalkboard. All right.
Who has those anymore?
So before anyone actually goes on a rant, which I'm feeling they might, for those that aren't even a fan of Gundam or the mecha genre itself and find that plots of Gundams can be a bit overly complex, I am going to simplify the plot as much as I can. And then the boys, lovely boys over here, are going to give their 2 cents if I've missed out anything, because they probably are a lot smarter in this department than me on Gundam 00. So the basic plot of Gundam 00 is humanity at a time where fossil fuels are running out, and the only available resource they have is on solar power. And they have what they call the 3-orbulator elevator, which is the elevator that generates all the solar power. But this can only be distributed between so many groups. And there's 3 main groups, which is the Free Nations, the Human Reform League, and the Union of Solar Energy. And then there are the other factions that are only given so much of the solar power. And then, of course, this upsets them. And there's a lot of upset between the main group of who gets how much solar power. And then, of course, war breaks out. And then we have a organization group called, or you call them like an anti-terrorist group. I don't know if you guys would call them that. I'm not sure. But they are known as Celestial Being, and they are following this 200-year-old plan of this dude that is dead. I can't even remember saying. I can't even say his name. I'm not even going to attempt it.
Eolia Shenberg.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And he's not dead. He's not dead.
Not dead.
Yeah, I know.
I thought he was dead. Well, I thought.
No.
No,
He can't be dead because science.
Anyway, they're following this 200-year-old plan, and the whole point of Celestial Being is it's made up of a whole team, and the main focus is on our 4 Gundam pilots, which is Setsuna, Aliaha, Lock-On, Stratus, and Terria. And the whole point of Celestial Being is to eradicate war. I kind of laughed at this bit, and I'm like, I wonder how the series is going to handle this theme of, yes, we can eradicate all of the war. And yeah, so basically, that is the plot of Gundam 00, and I'll let you guys add all your little bits in, because you already corrected me that obviously the main dude, 200-year-old plan, he's not dead.
So
otherwise, I think you pretty much nailed it.
I think you've got it.
The one thing that you missed with the orbital elevators is that one nation owns. There are only 3 orbital elevators, and all of them are owned by the major blocks. So one is owned by the Union, one is owned by the AEU, and then one is owned by the Human Reform League.
Yeah, that's why I said there was like 3. Oh, that's why I said, I don't know why. I put in my notes, 3 orbulator elevator. I forgot why I put the 3. And I'm like, wait, they all own each one. I'm like, oh. Yep.
And also, it's worth noting that because this is the only Gundam series that takes place in our AD timeline, it is 300 and change years from now. These 3 major world powers, it's not exactly subtle to figure out who is who.
Yes. Well, it's actually even kind of associated. So the Union, a lot of people, like, if you get it, then it's North America, South America. They're all associated that way. The AU, or the Advanced European Union, I think at one point was what it was supposed to be labeled before it came to the States. It is all of the European bloc, and then the Human Reform League is all of Asia.
Yeah, I knew I missed that part out. I'm like, oh, wait, the other dudes will probably mention it, probably.
Yeah, the HRL is supposed to be all of Asia, but for the lack of a better term, you will see a lot of, like, China in there. Like, China is supposedly, like, the White House or the main capital of the HRL for it.
And it's funny how this anime came out in 2007, and it's still topical in 2018. It still works.
Yes, and you were actually correct. It is literally based off 300 years to the current year at that time. So it's based starting in the year 2307 AD, and at that point, like that kind of gives them enough of a springboard to say, yeah, crap has happened, everything's kind of gone to hell, and now we can have a Gundam series take place in an AD timeline.
I mean, come on, like the union's president looks like George W. Bush.
Yes, and And actually, one or two of the allegories for the AEU actually look like, because somebody had to point this out to me. One of them looks like the French Prime Minister at the time, and then another one looked like it was based on like a 20-year younger photo of Margaret Thatcher from it. So, kind of weird.
Yep.
Very topical. And we still have the same issues.
Yep.
Even 300 years in the future.
Including young Setsuna F. Seiei and his origin story.
Yes. So that's actually the cool part about Celestial Being, and I promise if you guys want me to stop talking, I will. But Celestial Being is not just with the Gundam Meisters. Every single employee of it, or every single person of the organization, has been hurt by war to some extent. In the case of the Gundam Meisters, the situations get a little bit more extreme, but even like the mechanics that work on the mobile suits, they've been hurt by as consequences or as collateral damage of war. So at that point, everybody is united under the cause that Elia Shenberg established in 2091, and the plan is going into motion in 2307. So that's another cool part about Celestial Being, is that it's not just the Gundam Meisters or the crew of the Ptolemaios that is against war. The entire organization is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I just left that part out when I was giving like the plot spill, but yeah, it wasn't just about all the pilots, the Gundam Meisters. It was about everybody, and that's one of the main things I fell in love with about Gundam 00 was its fantastic coverage on like backstory for me. Like backstory is a really important thing to me when I'm watching anime. And 00 was like one of the very few ones that I feel like I really got to know like everybody, like even the side characters like Louise and Seiji, which I'll give my spill on eventually. But
we can talk about Louise and Saji. We can definitely talk about them.
We are.
We can talk about them
now.
when I first started watching 00, it took me a while to get into it. Probably by episode 5 is when I got into the story. I felt, because it kind of had a little bit of a slow start, just a little bit. But I always give any Gundam series, I will always give it a chance. I will always watch it through. Doesn't matter if I end up disliking it or liking it, but most of the time I always end up liking it. And after that point, introduced to Louise and how do you say his name? Saji. Is it Saji?
Saji Crossroad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because when there was it kept flicking for the first few episodes to them and then back to Celestial Being and everything that else is going on. I'm like, well, what is their part in this? Question marks are all across my head.
I always
what's funny is
that normal bystanders in all this. They're causing conflict. They show how everything
I know they're going to end up being non-bystanders, and I'm thinking, oh, God, just, maybe I was just thinking, if they're going to be bystanders, just, incorporate them in the story, like, pretty good.
And eventually they get there. And that is one thing about Gundam series that have large casts. Even with smaller characters, they eventually do make their way into the main plot in some way. And it started with Louise and Saji being innocent bystanders, and the whole story behind those two was it was to help regular people see what war does. Because sometimes regular people forget what war looks like. And as the series goes on, we see what happens with Louise and her family. we see what happens there. And hey, Louise and normal people that don't really know what's going on, ba-boom, this is war. Are you paying attention?
Well, and another thing that actually happened with because a lot of people might say that Louise and Saji had importance out of it based out of their importance in season 2. And I would actually say that's not correct, because a lot of the setup in season 1 is establishing the isolation that Setsuna Fsei has kind of imposed upon himself because of his past. And the show kind of subtly gives him connections to other people that they can then influence later in season 2, which help him to become the character and develop into the character he needs to be to ultimately save the day, as it were here. So Louise and Saji are all the other cool convenience about them is that they get a brand new person in the adjacent apartment, and that is Setsuna Fsei. So occasionally he will have access to these guys, and you get to see just how isolationist he kind of is, and how he just can't get regular life because he's a, spoiler alert, he's a child guerrilla soldier. So at that point, a normal peaceful life isn't necessarily something that Setsuna has ever had in his own life.
Well, what about you, Scott? How do you feel about Louise and Saji? Do you feel like they brought anything to the story? Do you agree with what Drak said?
I think they add like a lot of extra humanity to the story, because otherwise we're up in the air with these like giant organizations that have these big military movements, like fighting against each other, and we never really get a sense of like the public until they appear and they have that bombing, and then suddenly they're involved.
Yeah. Or the other element that a lot of people don't necessarily take into account because she doesn't show up in season 2 is Saji's sister Kinoue, who is a journalist at the time. And she actually, as soon as the message from Eolia Shenberg shows up, she's one of the few reporters that's actually actively looking into Eolia Shenberg and trying to answer that. So the viewers actually... Yeah, the viewers actually kind of get to start to learn about the Shenberg plan through Kinoue Crossroad as she's trying to uncover all of that. And then ultimately the Eolia plan kind of takes form after her unfortunate death at the hands of Laguna Harvey, a.k.a. Ali Al-Sachez. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm spoiling the crap out of
it. No, it's fine. There's going to be spoilers in this, so... Oh, people, listen at your own discretion. I probably should have said that at the start of the podcast, but oh well.
Just in case you didn't get the message, spoiler alert.
Yeah. Yeah. If we're talking about 00, we have to, we have to go all out. I'm just like whatever about spoilers now. So I'm sure you're all in agreement. I'm sure.
Not leave
People die. People die.
Yeah.
I would
Spoiler alert.
Don't mention about
bad.
dying. There's one death I could not get over. Like, no.
Yeah.
And then it goes and surprises me in season 2. And I'm like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
This was something in 2007 and 2008 when season 2 eventually started in 2009. This was so hotly debated. I'd never seen this much nerd rage over a Gundam series in my life. I'd never seen this much nerd rage.
I'm taking the death that you guys are talking about is Neil.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because I was like...
Yeah.
Because, I'm sitting there going, well, Kinoue's also kind of a big death there, but yes, Neil is the bigger one.
Neil Delandi, the original Lock-on Stratus.
Yeah,
I know.
poor
I was
guy.
like, just why
He went
did you
out like
cut
a
him
boss,
off?
though.
And then
He went out like a boss.
He did. I cried. I cried.
Where were you when a Gundam pilot died?
Nowhere near it.
I mean, I could bring up a couple casualties in Seed, but I mean, you're right. Like if we're talking a Gundam pilot, then yes, Neil's death is up there. But I mean,
can you imagine with Gundam Wing, like say for example, somewhere in the series, Duo Maxwell dying? Can you imagine?
Pissed off.
Somebody doesn't remember
if Hiro Yui
what
died,
goes
I'd be throwing a party. That's just me. I'm not a big fan of Hiro, but Like, if Duo died, yeah, I'd have issues. But, like, if Hiro or Troa or, well, if Katra died, I'd probably be throwing the biggest party ever. But that's just me.
But that's kind of how it was for Lock On. Like, because I remember the first run of this. It was not just the fact that Lock On died, and he died this glorious, honorable death. But then going into season 2, when they brought in his brother, and that really set a lot of people off too.
Hey,
because
he had a small clip in season 1, like when he was at the Lock On was on the burial site. You could see him.
Yeah, you could see Lyle.
Yeah, he was there.
People still felt like, well, he just had this glorious, honorable death that made everybody feel all of the emotions. And
little did they know.
And then they just bring back his brother.
Episodes, and Lyle would be just as much a badass as his brother.
Yeah, maybe not as good of a shot, but, you know.
But that's the other cool part about, like, how the Gundams also have evolved in this series, because, yes, while Neil Delandi was an expert sniper, Lyle never actually kind of got that kick, and one of his arcs is basically retooling the now named Cherubim Gundam into his expertise, which more he can do the shots, but he can also do like close range with handguns, as well as incorporating the rifle and shield bits into his mix as well.
And also reminding everyone, he's not his brother.
Yeah.
He is not his brother. Felt Grace had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah,
who knew that giant robots could have so much character?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sobbed into a whole box of tissues during Neil's death. And then, like, because I tweeted about while watching Gundam 00. I have a thread thing. I even made it a moment on my Twitter. And, you know, I even went and looked back before we did this podcast, and I'm like, oh, that's how I felt at the time. And then I'm reminded, and all the feelings have come back. But I was so, yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't notice it at the beginning. I just didn't. That's just a little detail you end up missing. And then, like, season 2, it's like, bam! It's like, holy crap. A twin. I was like, I'm not sure how to feel about this.
Well, and another thing to consider is, like, by the time season 2 kind of starts up, like, everything is grim at that point. Like, you literally have 3 of the Gundam Meisters MIA. All right, they don't even, like, I think they just barely had found out that Neil was KIA. He had died. But then Setsuna, he was missing for a while there. They actually kind of hint that the Ptolemaeus doesn't know where he is. They also don't know where Alleluia is. And Thierry is their only active Meister. So at that point, it's like, oh crap! Can we continue the plan without all these Meisters?
I know, because while I was watching it, I was hesitant to even begin season 2. I'm like, oh, I'm not prepared, and I was just like, oh my god, what is gonna happen? There's like, everybody's gone MIA, and you've only got Alleluia. That is the only person, as you said, Drak, that is active. And I'm just like,
no, it was
Thieria.
Oh, sorry, Thieria. Sorry. But yeah, let's just see how this pans out. And speaking of Theria's character,
do we have to? Do we really have to talk about Thieria?
Yeah,
are you a Gundam fan?
Obviously, I got a different opinion to you guys. Well, it's kind of mixed, but Thieria, we'll get to Setsuna, don't worry. Thieria in season 1, I wasn't obviously the hugest fan, because you can call him like he's like a jackass, basically. And he thought he knew what was better for the group.
Lena. I think jackass is lightly.
Hey, this is YouTube. We have to be so friendly.
Thieria is a dingle. Yeah, I said it. He was a dingle.
Okay.
He was a big poopy face in season 1. You hear me? I said it.
Where I go is he was a poopy duty head in Double O.
I mean, like, I'm sorry. I did like him at first, but then in season 2, well, you're going to still say the same thing, David. I can feel your hatred for him emanating through the microphone.
poopy head. For as much as I liked Sumeragi, I pretty much disliked Tieria.
So at this, like, I actually kind of have the not opposite opinion, because here's the thing: season 1, totally with you guys. Tieria was a dingus. He was the problem that they always had to deal with. But then came season 2, and I'm not going to say that he was a better character, but he was a much more tolerable character.
Tolerable,
yeah,
yes. That's the word.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that he was like, I mean, I know he was like selfish in some of his, decisions. And yes, he was a dingle. Oh. But, I liked it still that he built up some reform for himself. But at the same time, obviously, it doesn't excuse how he was in season 1. Oh. No. But I thought at least he was reformed a little teeny weeny bit, like it's like a grain of sand in season 2. And then so we can move off of Terria if you obviously I can feel the hatred emanating through the microphones.
Tieria does have like at least a purpose there where they haven't the problem is that he's an a-hole, for lack of a better term, in season 1, but part of the reason is because you don't know a whole lot about him aside from the fact that he knows more about the plan than anybody else on the ship does.
He's the computer guy.
Go on.
Yeah, and it's we think it's because of the computer guy. We don't know the whole innovator thing until season 2, and then at that point a lot of that stuff kind of goes away. But the other thing that helps with that is that after basically being kind of responsible for Neil losing his eye, which ultimately results in Neil's death, we get a sense of humility from Tieria at that point. He's actually proud to be a human. He's willing enough to acknowledge his own flaws, which is something that the other Meisters have been doing for years. He hasn't done once.
The comparison that I made, to go back to the Gundam Wing parallel with Tieria, was Wu Fei Chang. However, it was nice to see that with Tieria, he actually did show a fair amount of evolution for his character. And yes, all of the things you mentioned about Season 2 were legit. So, unlike Wu Fei, Tieria's character evolution, it did show some improvement. So yes, in season 1 he was a dingle, but he did improve.
Yeah, he went from like a 1 out of 10 to maybe like a 4 out of 10.
And for the record, it took the movie for Wu Fei to be somewhat likable.
No.
I
don't think so.
That's really a stretch.
I know.
That's a stretch. That's where we're drawing the line, Drak. We're drawing the line there.
No one shall cross it.
I love all this conflict. It's so exciting.
The other thing to consider is Tieria is not the most likable sort, but this was also, season 1 was kind of where the Gundam Meisters got to know each other. So it wasn't like they were buddy or chummy or anything like that to one another. If there was any kind of relationship going on, it was between, and not that kind of relationship, people, we're not shipping yet, was Setsuna and Neil or Lock-On. Yes. And it's just because they had kind of that weird older brother, little brother kind of aesthetic going to them.
I love them pair. I'm not like shipping them. I love their bromance. It was kind of like a bromance in a way. But
the other thing to consider is, like, unlike Gundam Wing, where aside from maybe Duo tried to get to know the other pilots and try to get along with them.
Kind of did.
There really wasn't any. They mostly stayed as loners. So Hiro wasn't necessarily trying to be buddy with anybody. Katra and Duo kind of stayed that way, but Troa and Wu Fei kind of did their own thing. The difference.
Well, Katra and Troa, on the other hand, there was that.
That's true. Because Katra and Troa had the friendship before Duo and Katra did.
Friendship.
But in Double O,
friendship.
something like that.
That's as far as we're going.
The finger quotes friendship between Catra and
It was more
Troa.
like, Troa, could you fight my battles for me? Sure. I look emo while I'm doing it.
How can he even see with that hair?
I was just happy to see those two crazy kids making it work the best they could.
With their violins and their flutes. It was so great. That totally wasn't an allegory for something else going on.
Nope.
It's canon, guys. It's canon.
It
If
is
you're
canon.
still out there hanging on to that, come on. It's canon. It's canon.
But
Come on.
at this point, like the thing that I'm trying to point out is like where these guys were mostly loners, they didn't necessarily try to get along with each other. That changes. Like there are reasons in season 1 for none of them to trust one another. But as soon as you get about halfway into season 1, we're given reasons for them to start opening up about one another and learning about each other so that they can work together as a team. And funniest thing, the thing that gets that started is the two pilots that absolutely hate each other, Setsuna and Tieria, fighting off the damn thrones.
Yeah. Well, actually, I would say that like Alleluia's backstory kind of helped him with Tieria a little bit, and then
We really haven't even talked about Alleluia at all.
oh yeah,
No, the
Why have we
great
not talked
about
Alleluia
it,
Boo?
who's
Why have we
I
not
love
talked
his
about him?
why have we not
split
talked about it?
personality, who's like bat crazy.
He is batshit crazy, but sorry, I cursed, but he is bat crap
no.
crazy.
Demonetized.
Oh, we weren't going for that.
Bat crack crazy.
But
Oh,
yeah,
God, I
so
love it.
he is crazy as crap, but you know what? It's a lovable kind of crazy because
Yeah,
I know.
once
I
Hallelujah
do.
shows up, you
I like
you
having
know
a
you're in for a
bird.
good time.
Hallelujah. Come on, it did make you think of the song, right?
Well,
they
his
did that on purpose.
last name is Haptism.
It is, in fact, baptism.
Should we also talk about the names in this series?
Well,
But it's-
yes,
but it's-
for everyone scoring at home, there are a lot of weird, almost unpronounceable games throughout the entire Gundam
Yep.
franchise, and 00 definitely holds its own.
Oh, I can't even remember the title for the game. What was it?
That's a good question, but
I didn't
Yeah,
even know there
this-
was a game.
this anime had its fair share of weird ass Gundam names.
Yes, it did.
Literally starting with Aeolia Shenberg, the
Aeolia
guy that
Shenberg.
started all.
See, look, I couldn't even pronounce it.
We're talking about season 1, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring up these names for people that eventually show up in season 2. Regene Regetta, Revival, Healing Care, and my favorite, the kicker of all of them, Bring Stabity.
Yeah.
Bring your
A new
stab
return.
over here. Bring your stab here.
And even better, once we get into the movie, we have Descartes Shaman.
I love Gundam names. They're so wonderful.
They're so weird. It's great.
It's really underneath. It's like it's half religion. It will convert you.
Did you ever would have an ultimate villain by the name of Ribbons?
Ribbons Allmark.
Oh God,
Ribbons
Ribbons
on-
Allmark. That dude, he can go die in a pit of fire. For all I care.
Hey, you leave Angry Uncle Ray alone, okay?
Ribbons Allmark. I'm like, I knew you were rotten apple from the beginning, and I'm like, oh, let's show when this rottenness peels itself
And
away.
actually, you can make
slowly.
a joke in Gundam 00. It was in fact the butler that did it,
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
because he was the butler of Alejandro Corner, and then he becomes the overall villain of season 2. So there you go. But
Yeah,
sorry,
Ribbons
I've
Allmark.
immediately taken things out into season 2.
Yeah, let's
We'll
go
go
back to season 1.
Yeah. Let's get back to Alleluia. He's my boo. I got to talk about him.
So Alleluia's backstory, immediately gripped me. Experimented on.
Suffice to say,
Nostalgia.
Alleluia has seen some stuff. He's
Yeah.
seen some stuff.
What?
This fragile thing is what he is. He is fragile.
Now,
I
he's
can
saying
see
some
it.
stuff.
At the same time.
He just wasn't looking in the mirror while it was happening. That's the only difference.
It wasn't him that was killing those people. It's obviously his other self.
Oh, my apologies. It was the super soldier! By the way, so quick ADD moment, because I have those occasionally. When the dub came out, did anybody immediately expect for him, because of the actor who played Alleluia, for him to immediately scream out, Kagome!
Yes. Yes.
I'll be
And I
honest,
loved it.
Oh god.
For those who don't know, he was played by Richard Ian Cox, who is also well known for playing the English dubbed voice of Inuyasha.
Yes,
If we're going to bring that up, we need to bring out Setsuna with Brad Swale.
Brad Swale, who has done numerous Gundam series.
I have had the pleasure of meeting Brad Swale and having him sign many different pieces of Gundam merch. And
for those who don't want to go into the
personally
Gundam terminology for... Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, he has said on record, Gundam has been very good to my bank account. So as long as he's still around, he's going to keep doing it.
Well, but for those who don't, like, Brad Swale does a lot of stuff outside of Gundam, and if you need any other example, all you have to do is think about his most infamous line, "I'll take a potato chip and eat it."
Where's that from?
He is also the voice of Light Yagami in Death Note.
Yeah.
I don't know that line, no.
Oh, it's like from one of the earlier ones.
That's like one of the OG anime memes.
Nope, I haven't heard it before. Where's it from?
Death Note.
Oh, Death Note. Oh,
Death Note.
No, I haven't seen that meep. I've seen Death Note, but I haven't seen that meep. I wasn't really into meeps back then. I
only shared L memes, so because like one of my favorite lines was also, "What would we do if there was ever a world without light? Yes, it would be dark."
I'll be honest, I only watched I began watching 00 in English dub. I've only made it to episode 4, and because beforehand I'd watched it the first season in Japanese, so I couldn't adjust to the English dub. I don't know what it was, so I've only seen 00 in the Japanese version, which I do like the Japanese version. So I'm not really I don't know who plays who, but I did get a little glimpse of Alleluia's character, who was the voice of Inuyasha, because I instantly recognized it.
The dub of Gundam 00 is really well done, and it is pretty fun. It's done by the Ocean Group in Vancouver. A lot of them, if you're a Gundam fan of old, you'll recognize a lot of their voices as well.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I probably will. I don't know what it was. I was already watching in Japanese, and I thought, I'll go to the English dub, but I'd already just become adjusted to the Japanese version, which I love particularly. I'm not fully aware on a lot of Japanese voice actors, but the voice of Setsuna for the Japanese version, which is by Mamoru Iano. Iano, yeah, I've been a fan of him for years, so I loved how he portrayed Setsuna's character. I thought it was really well matched.
This is actually one of those few series where I can interchange between the Japanese dub and the English dub, because all the performances are really, really well done, and in some cases, line reads are better in the sub, in my opinion, than in the dub. Like in my opinion, the actor who plays Alleluia has a better grasp of what Hallelujah is supposed to be and how aggressive he's supposed to be than a lot of Richard's reads in later seasons. And I just think that was because they held it back.
I'm inclined to agree. I really enjoyed Lakon Stratos in season 1 in the dub. His character was, at least on Gundam pilot standards, he seemed much more human and not as damaged, despite his family history. And I think that the performance in season 1, I believe in the first season, I believe that was Alex Zahara. I believe he did a really good job in season 1 to make Lock-On seem more human than Gundam pilots often are.
I think he just fed off its character because he was so well put together and older than everybody else, and just knew how to handle everything. So it just probably just came right off of that.
That's kind of the thing. He was the big brother to all of the younger Meisters, and so at that point, it really worked out. It also worked with his interactions with Sumeragi, because you could kind of tell that he was a little bit older than her too.
Yeah, but maybe we should get to talking about Sumeragi. Shouldn't we now?
No, we really don't have to.
I think I
Sumeragi, my boo?
Do you have a wall scroll of Miss Sumeragi, sir?
I wish I did. In fact, there was one that I wanted to get, but I have nowhere in my house to put it.
As I said to the boys over at the Buildcasters, until you have a wall scroll of Sumeragi, she's still mine.
So at this point, like, what is the scroll of? Like, did you get a swimsuit or did you get her in this?
It's her in her. It's her in her normal outfit and the Ptolemaeus in the background.
How boring.
Okay, all right.
It's classy.
Season 1 attire.
Yeah, it's classy. It's tasteful.
Oh yeah, David goes.
It's not lewd.
Classic. Oh God, it should be lewd. Jesus, David.
And again, another awesome performance that was done by, I want to. Oh crap!
Isn't it Lisa Ann Bealey?
Yeah, it's the same person who played.
Damn, because I know her voice. I know her.
She's in Seed and Seed Destiny. She played the captain of the
Maru
Lamias. Yeah.
Yes. That's
okay.
why I recognize myself. Like, I loved her role as the captain.
And I find it funny that she's now played, count them, two busty gals in Gundam.
Let's see. Didn't she do Wing? She played. Renee. I'm gonna pronounce the name wrong. Relena.
Oh, Relena. Yes.
Crap.
Yes, she was Relena. Yes, she was.
Oh, damn.
Seriously,
now I
aside
really want to
from
rewatch
Richard,
Wing now.
I think everybody is returning. Like aside from Richard Ian Cox, I think everybody else has done at least one Gundam series in this dub, right?
I don't know.
We'd have to
go through all of them,
so.
and I'm not
Seems like it.
So David, the beckoning question: why? What makes your Sumeragi so special?
Well, let's talk about my Gundam waifu for life, the commander of the Ptolemaeus and tactical commander of Celestial being Sumeragi Lee Noriega. What I like about her so much is that she's a mature, grown-ass human adult character in anime. That doesn't happen often. She was a really excellent military commander, and she's lived a real life and has made some terrible mistakes, and she's really trying her best to struggle through that. I remember on the first run of Gundam 00, I first noticed Sumeragi, and it was just like the very first episode, they even pointed out, wait, does she have a flask on the bridge? Like that's a little different.
Oh yeah.
And then like you start seeing, oh, okay, like this is a thing for her. And normally in so many anime, you see a character that drinks and they're always kind of portrayed as goofy and funny, and they have the red-faced to indicate that they're drunk. And I give Gundam 00 a lot of credit for making the point to show that Sumeragi, with her past for a really bad tragedy happening that she was responsible for, really giving her some emotional trauma and showing that she was trying to find a way to cope through her alcoholism. And that was something that really connected with me. This felt like the most human, personal character I'd seen in a Gundam series, and it was just, she was the most complete character I'd seen in a Gundam series maybe ever. And I absolutely loved everything about her for it, just as a complete character from top to bottom.
See, like for the Gundam series, yes, she's probably one of the most fleshed out characters there. I would also say Alleluia is just as fleshed out as Sumeragi does get. And in fact, one of the things that's really cool is like they kind of come together through alcohol. Alleluia actually finds that as a very interesting way to get to know Sumeragi. But a lot of the great moments from Sumeragi are in her quarters alone. The lights are dark, but the monitor is still on, and you get to see her open up the fridge, and it's just nothing but booze. And she just kind of drinks alone and drinks herself and cries to sleep over the things that she's done.
May I ask an off-the-wall question, David?
Sure.
How do you feel about Misato from Ava?
Exactly the same.
All right.
Misato is best girl.
Yes, she is.
It's exactly the same thing. It is.
It really is.
See again. Here's where I come in differing. I like the parallel. Don't get me wrong, but I think
the parallel was not lost on me, and I completely agree. But the parallel is not lost on me.
Yeah,
as you were saying, Drak.
No. That's like so. Misato is a good comparison to Sumeragi, but if my personal opinion is, Sumeragi has a lot more depth than Misato, because eventually we do learn some of the things that trouble Sumeragi. Misato, not really. It's kind of alluded in the series as to what's gone on in her life. So, like, in my opinion, if I had to pick between the two of them, I'd pick Sumeragi. I like how that character was fleshed out.
It would be pretty close for me.
And something Drak said earlier about how every member of Celestial Being was affected in some way by war. Sumeragi was seriously affected by war, because when she was an officer in the military as a tactical forecaster, she made a really, really bad mistake during a training exercise, and people died. Including her boyfriend at the time, and
wasn't he her fiance?
Fiance, yeah.
Things. Yeah, I'm sure.
I think so.
Yeah, fiance.
Yes, it was.
And that destroyed her emotionally, and that is some. Sorry, Lita, this is about to get demonetized, but that is some real shit, and that is heavy. That's really heavy, even for Gundam, which can be very melodramatic. That was heavy, and that. Well, and it also
the other thing that makes that awesome is like we all think from like a TV or an anime or a game context that these things get fixed, and they never do for Sumeragi, and that's why it works. Like one of the moments that I actually find to be the most endearing with her is where they find her in season 2, where she's basically kind of leeching off of Billy Katagiri, the guy who had a crush on her. To be able to get that boost so she can drown her sorrow. She doesn't have to worry about it until she goes back to Celestial Being. But we eventually kind of have a revelation later on where she realizes her wrongdoing and apologizes to Billy for using him the way she did.
And during the time skip from season 1 to season 2, they kind of allude to that Sumeragi was living with Billy. She just literally never stopped drinking.
Yeah,
like, she just completely fell apart because Celestial Being fell apart, and she really didn't have anything going on in her life in between then.
No. Yeah, and so where she was the ultimate drunk, Billy Katagiri is like this actually goes to his character too. He's the ultimate enabler. Like he literally will be kind of that welcome mat with anybody who gives him orders, including Graham to some extent. And you actually get to see like that ultimate enabler because he is willing to buy her beer or willing to buy her booze as long as occasionally she goes out and visits with friends every now and then.
It's funny, I have to point out that, you know, some of the names you were going through earlier of the characters, and yet we have a simple name for Billy.
Yes.
Yeah, he is for the United States.
We got like a beautiful name,
and his father,
and
Homer.
then we got she went and got all the booze off of Billy. Billy was the go-to.
Billy Katagiri and his ponytail.
Oh
yeah.
God!
Or eventually,
like,
when he cuts her off, she's like, "Oh, then I guess this isn't gonna work. Goodbye, Billy.
Oh, look, right. I was going to say, I said to David at the beginning of this podcast, right, I'm going to roast your precious waifu. But
Oh, go ahead.
I was kidding.
Go ahead.
I was kidding.
Oh.
I wasn't gonna roast Sumeragi. I wasn't. No, everything you guys have said, I honestly can't really add to it. I pretty much agree. I agreed with it. And from a female point of view, you know, it was like not relatable, like the alcohol bit, but of, you know, how I couldn't blame her, like how, you know, how reluctant she was to rejoin Celestial Being, feeling, you know, she felt worthless. She did. And, you know, I loved seeing this type of thing in Gundam. I hadn't felt really that strong a connection with a female character in Gundam before. So don't worry, she's definitely a standout. But I will tell you.
So basically what you're saying is we're not going to roast Sumeragi Lee Noriega. Marina Ismail on the other hand.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, my God. Talk about
we are roasting the female that brought.
I'm sorry, I didn't say the name right. I'm sorry. It's
no value to the plot whatsoever.
I'm sorry, and I'm probably going to offend some people.
A Gundam series needs a princess. There always needs to be a Gundam princess.
I know, but
that's the rule.
Let's go ahead and get into Relina Ismail. I mean, I'm sorry, Marina Pizzcraft.
It's funny because it's true.
That actually sounds a good name. Relina Ismail. That sounds a good princess name. Why didn't they do that in Wing?
It's literally the same.
I've heard this comparison who knows how many times of like, if you look at Gundam Seed and you look at 0079...
Sorry, Drak, I just want to tell everyone out there, I just put Gundam Princess into Google, and the third and fourth results are the Gundam Wikia articles for Marina Ismail and Relina Peacecraft.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's no, oh, wait the day we get a strong female princess lead.
You have Lacus. There are a number of them. I mean, for crying out loud, 0079 had a princess. But yeah, so
badass.
I've seen a lot of forum comparisons where if you look at 0079 and you look at Seed, a lot of people make the jump that Seed is basically like a modern retelling of 0079. And they wouldn't entirely be incorrect, but there are differences.
Meant to be that, you know?
I don't know. I've not seen 0079, so I can't give my intel.
20th or 30th celebration of Gundam was Seed.
But the same comparison gets made of Gundam Wing and Gundam 00 being kind of a modern retelling of Wing. Although some people also make the argument that X technically is part of that too. And so at that point, Marina and Relina really are roughly the same character.
Yes. Yes, they are.
There's no hiding it. I would say that there are some things that make Marina a tad more endearing than Relina, but not by much.
You're grabbing at straws.
If I have to be ultra positive, then okay, that's there. But no, they kind of both have the same problems. And it's appropriate that we're talking about season 1 because, oh my gosh, how much time did we spend with Marina?
Useless time.
Mr. Muragi, can I have a drink, please?
Like,
Mr. Muragi?
She was just there to develop some of the politics in the Middle East, and that was it.
And she's also there to kind of help shape sex enough.
I'll sing a song and make the children happy. The war will go away through my song.
And then they died.
Oh, wait, she actually did something, as opposed to Relina.
She sang a song.
What did Relina do, Gundam Wing fan? She held a classroom.
So that's another Gundam princess that she copied. She copied Lacus Klein.
Yeah,
Nobody will ever be Lacus Klein. Nobody will ever be Lacus Klein.
We had a plot about that.
Hey, I'm a Lacus lover over here, okay?
No, I'm just saying, like, there was Mir Campbell. That's all I'm saying. We move on.
Oh, yeah.
We had a plot about that.
That's forgettable.
And we move on now.
I'm not really saying much on Marina Ismail because she's really just not worth it.
She's,
I know, but she's not worth it. But at the same time, it's like, you know,
Marina has good moments,
there.
but they don't happen until late into season 2. I would actually say that the post scene in Awakening of the Trailblazer kind of helps a little bit, but
Do you know the manga ending of Awakening of the Trailblazer?
I don't know the manga ending, but I've heard.
Oh,
Oh, wait, is it better? Is it better?
No, it's so much
bad?
worse.
Oh,
it's so much worse.
Okay, no.
We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about
The
it.
problem is that so here's kind of an average season 1 00 episode for people. You are going to get some time with the Gundam pilots. If they actually do have a mission, then you get a lot of mecha out of that. But a lot of your time is spent with either Saji and Louise, which occasionally can be funny. Okay? Because that dude is whipped. That can be funny.
Yeah,
but then
true.
most of that time is Marina and her, I can't remember her aide's name, but them basically debating the philosophy of war. And it's very clear that Marina doesn't get it.
Doesn't get it.
All.
She believes in total pacifism. Oh, wait, wrong show. Sorry.
Again, Marina Peacecraft. No, it's literally like if you were to put a Disney princess in a real life situation, they would never get it.
No, I mean, like, you know, even though I think Marina is like, yes, she's not really worth really talking about. One of the frustrating things I definitely noticed from a female perspective is that, you know, with this weird connection she has with Setsuna, because nothing is ever really defined if it's just a friendship or if it's just like a romantic feelings they have. I couldn't really read
said
that weird
no.
friendship.
They said no when they were asked about it. They both said no.
So when Milena asks them in season 2, they say they're not a couple. And I don't know about you guys, but I just did this joint facepalm of like, oh, so we've been wasting our time with Marina.
Yeah, I felt like it was.
What?
You know, I still felt like nothing was defined.
But then in the movie, we find out that they understand each other. That's what it was about in the movie because they needed to understand each other.
Behind this shit.
Quick, somebody get a permanent marker so they can put marks on their hands and discover the heart of the cards.
Oh my God.
There will be no disrespecting the power of friendship, sir.
I was like, I would have rather.
I'm sore all up in this. I'm here to kick ass and talk about friendship, and I'm all out of ass.
I know. I would have rather have oh god, what's her name? Pink-haired girl.
Felt to Grace.
Felt like she went through a transition where, you know, she had a crush on Precious Lock-On, then he's gone, Neil. And then she develops feelings for Setsuna. I would have liked if they had, you know, pressed on that a lot more, but no, we didn't get that.
Yeah, that kind of made sense.
That's my only regret of season 2 is that we had so many moments between Setsuna and Marina, and really we needed those moments with Felt. And I'm just
yes, I love Felt.
Give me Setsuna and Felt, damn it.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously.
But I'll tell you one couple that worked. You know who I'm talking about. There was the only one pair that, not Louise and Saji. I don't care about them. I mean,
let's just be honest.
Hallelujah.
It was Setsuna and Tieria. Their binding passion finally unleashed its. Oh wait, sorry, I'm reading a fanfic. Never mind.
Well, we haven't gotten to the movie yet.
That's true.
Oh, that would be funny.
We'll get to that in the movie too.
Can we actually? I mean, technically, it's possible because we did see Tieria gender flip in season 2. So
yeah, he put on a dress.
I would just like to see that scientifically explained. Did he just push a button somewhere on him?
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Don't give the fanfic writers any more fuel.
Yeah.
They figured it out.
Yeah.
They've had this for years, David. Come on.
But going back to how I felt, like, you know, I think there's a, you know, it's sort of half failed on the romance side of things. But I felt like it redeemed the other half with Alleluia and Maria. That was so unbelievably convincing. Like, I cried for them. It was really believable. It was just easy to latch onto. It really was.
Which is funny because Soma is like the alternate personality is kind of annoying to deal with because she didn't know life. But then when you got Marie, you had a lot of really great moments with her and Alleluia. And then they had to do the switch into season 2 where she went back to Soma Pyrrhus.
Oh, yeah.
It got worse. And then it got better.
Yeah. We could forgive that. But
but another good relationship to bring up is Lyle and Anu. For as fleeting as it actually was pretty meaningful and awesome for Lyle's character development too.
I agree too. I thought that was really sweet. And of course, the moment comes, Neil dies and she dies, and then I was just like, ugh. Of course you'd do this to me.
I feel like
do this.
After that happened, after a new returner died, and it was Setsuna that had to do it, I had to give Setsuna a little bit of credit for being a bro to lock on, for saying, I killed your girl, so you can go ahead and beat me up and just go ahead and get it out of your system. If you need to do that, I understand.
What's funny is, like, I literally looked at that. I don't know about you guys, but I looked at it and went, wow, that was very Neil-esque for Setsuna to do, because that's something I would totally see his brother doing, to just kind of take that shot away from him and then let him, take out his frustrations on, if Neil were still alive. But Setsuna kind of took the Neil choice.
Yeah, he did. Bro. He did. And we should talk about one of the main protagonists, which is Setsuna. We've not really covered Setsuna.
Okay, does it remind you of Soulscape from Full Metal Panic at all?
A little bit.
Yeah. I can see that.
I get a lot of the Hiro Yui vibe from him.
Yeah, it's like a combo of the two.
And for those who have never watched the series, here is Setsuna FCA in a nutshell. I want to be a Gundam. I can't. There you go.
Eliminating the targets.
I had somebody just say plainly, he's a psychological mess, really.
He's Arabic Hiro Yui.
He is.
Yeah.
But
here's the part that's going to get me slapped across the face. He is Hiro Yui with actual character development. I know.
Yes.
No. Yes, he is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the difference here compared, like, a lot. I've had this debate with a number of people why I think 00 is superior to Wing, and one of the reasons being is the Meisters, as opposed to the Gundam pilots in Wing, get actual character arcs. They get legit character development that happens. A lot of it, granted, in season 2. But you get that. You get to see the characters evolve. Did Wu Fei Chang ever evolve in that series? No.
Hell no.
No.
Did Shroa really evolve? Kinda.
Hell no.
Beetle? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Catra? No. Wait, I should learn not to cause problems. Oh wait, I caused another problem. That's Catra in a nutshell. But like,
I'm going crazy,
and I have a really creepy laugh, by the way. And so at that point, like, Duo is probably the only one that actually kind of goes through an arc, and a lot of that happens later when he gets I can't remember her name, but he gets kind of a
Hildy Schweiker.
Hildy Schweiker. He gets Hildy as kind of an analog to bounce off of. So at that point, he's really the only one. But Tieria, he gets an arc. You don't have to like it, but he gets one. Setsuna gets an arc. Alleluia gets an arc. Neil, a little bit. Lyle gets a lot of that development as the Dynamis pilot. But that's the difference, is these pilots actually get development. Heaven forbid!
It does everything Wing does and does it better. Point blank.
And I love Wing, but the bottom line is, yes, it does it better.
Significantly.
Yes. Although,
I agree. Well, like,
as opposed to Milliardo, I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah, Graham is kind of a thing that happens. He's
Brandon's
good, and then he's like, "Oh, Mr. Bushido."
Don't you disrespect Mr. Bushido.
I love the fact when the English dub actually got around to that. They're like, I don't know how we should react to this. Oh, he's just a guy in a mask. Don't worry about it. Mr. Bushido. Like, no, you missed
that.
it.
Was
ruined the moment, and I'm leaving.
That was something that was done in the Japanese voices that was extremely well done in comparison to the English dub. That there is something special about Mr. Bushido.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree.
And you have to say it that way.
Mr. Bushido. I love it. I love the sub better than the dub in that one. It's like, whoa, Mr. Bushido.
You guys work so well together.
Well, thank you.
I guess we should. I feel like we have covered season 1.
Let's get to the movie then. Let's get to the movie.
Yeah, let's get to the movie. I'm excited, Jack.
Yes! Yes!
Oh my god.
Awakening of the Trailblazer.
Or as I like to call it, Mobile Suit Gundam First Contact.
Oh, yeah. That worked.
I would call it them old 50s side spy movie. Them.
See, like, I get a lot of the I'm not saying Awakening is the greatest movie I've ever seen, okay? I get a lot of the complaints that do happen for Awakening. My only issue is that it actually did what I have waited for Gundam to do for so long. And I didn't even realize... Yeah, aliens. Because the Eolia plan, I didn't realize up until near the end when they said the dialogues to come. I'm like, oh, first contact with aliens. This is like the coolest thing ever. I get aliens in a Gundam show. And... Granted, was it the greatest first contact? Well, it wasn't Klingons, but I'll take it.
I agree, because like I never recalled to me, because when I first discussed it with you, Drak, it honestly never recalled to me throughout all of any of the Gundam shows I've seen so far. No, there is no alien contact. There isn't. So.
There technically is one that has happened since then, but it gets redacted really quick. In Gundam Age,
are you talking about Gundam Age? Gundam Age?
Yeah.
I haven't seen Gundam Age, so
what is it? First 20 episodes hint at the fact that they might be facing an alien threat, and then they redact it by basically saying it's humans who have colonized Mars, roughly. But yeah, this is roughly the only time, to my recollection, that aliens have been the primary threat. And we actually had a first contact situation.
They were cool aliens. Metal ones.
Yes.
Generic and
living
warm and everything.
Ones. That only wanted a hug. They only wanted a hug, people.
They
and that's
made
why
connection.
lots of people.
They wanted to understand each other. That was the secret of the movie. We need to understand each other.
Of course, Setsuna, the first hybrid of innovator, the first proper innovator, was going to be the one to understand them and bring peace and love, and that's it, everybody, folks.
With help from Tierra.
and create gargantuan flowers in space.
And again, with help from Tierra, because now that's canon.
Yes. Ship them away. Ship them away.
Nah, I'll ship Terrier. I'll ship him with somebody. I'll ship him with David.
The problem is in the fact that, holy crap, yes, it is the Marina plot as a movie plot, okay? That's not lost on me. I was sitting there watching it with a friend. He's like, oh my gosh, this is Marina the movie. And I get that. But it's freaking aliens. I gotta watch it now.
It was something that hadn't been done before. And, well, this was the first time in preparation for this podcast. It was the first time I'd watched the movie, because for years I'd heard it was hot garbage, the hottest of garbage. And then when I watched it, it was only not terrible, well animated for sure. It was an interesting plot. I'll say interesting.
Yeah.
But, I was expecting much worse. I went in with very low expectations.
maybe I'm the only one thinking this, but I would take Endless Waltz over it, probably. There's a little bit more to work with.
I don't remember Endless Waltz.
But if you gave me a choice between, I don't know, F91 and Awakening of the Trailblazer, I'd go with Awakening of the Trailblazer.
Well, yeah. That's like asking for... I
know.
Like the Universal Survival arc or Dragon Ball Evolution.
Well, I mean, it's basically a choice of which would you like to pelt yourself over the head with, a hammer or a mace? You just go with the one that works the best to get the job done.
The one that will have less recovery time.
Less recovery time. I mean, I really do think. I know I had my mixed views about Awakening of the Trailblazer. I mean, I felt, with obviously the ending, I'm still like, made me go, but then it made me go, I'm still not sure how to feel about this. But when I went into watching Trailblazer, I mean, one of the things I was mainly excited for was seeing Setsuna's upgrade for his, Gundam Exia. We got 00.
00 Quanta.
Yeah, 00 Quanta.
We mentioned the weird namings of the Gundams. This was where that happened, because you had 00 Quanta, which made sense because 00, but then you had Zabanya, which was the Cherubim upgrade. You had Harut for the Arios upgrade, and then you also had, and somebody corrected me on this, it's not Raphael, it's Raphael. That's, get it right, Drak. You have to say Raphael Gundam as opposed to Serenity. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I couldn't name good.
What?
Hallelujah, baptism. Everyone shut up. Just shut up. If you're really getting picky about Gundam names, just shut up.
Again, let's go through this. Crap, I actually need to bring him back. I mean, we have Subaragi Lee Noriega. I mean, that's a weird name. You have Ribbons Allmark, Regene Regetta, Revive Revival, Healing Care, Bring Stabity.
This Gundam really is, this Gundam is promoting religion.
No, it's just like
that's how I see it.
So we promoted Crusades.
Look at random things in the room.
It gives these little hints through the names. Go, what does baptism mean? Oh, baptism. Oh, I will dedicate my life to being a monk.
Which is funny, because a lot, when you actually learn like the real names of Neil Delandi, like that sounds pretty normal. And then you have
even Setsuna. Setsuna had a pretty fairly normal Arabic name. Soran Ibrahim.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, so speaking of those sites, I actually, and I kid you not, I wish I could have screenshotted it to show you guys. I literally saw a guy, because I was watching this subbed along with everybody else, because I was really excited with where they were going. A guy literally just got like ostracized on a forum because the episode where we found out his real name, Setsuna's real name, got revealed. And the guy preferred to call him by that name because he liked it better. And immediately, as soon as he goes into like character development for Soran Ibrahim, you have like 10 messages just going, no, his name is Setsuna. Leave him alone. That's a stupid name. I don't even know when he came up with that. Get him off the forums.
And there we have the internet.
Guys,
about 5 seconds.
He's Middle Eastern, guys.
I know.
I'm saying this to the kids on the forums. He's Middle Eastern. What did you think his name was going to be?
I actually kind of wish that Soran, like the Soran name, had been brought up a number of other times, and the only time it really gets, because he is Setsuna at this point, it only gets brought back in memories. So like when you see the recurring memory of him killing his mom, she's like, "Why, Soran? Why are you killing me?" And also the confrontation with the thrones, when you have that happen too. But it is a cool name. That's like one of the few ones. And then you have all of these other names. I mean, I love Felt, but Felt Grace? Christina Sierra? Lasse Ion.
Tieria Arde.
Tieria Arde. Ian Vashti. Iolia Shenberg.
And we haven't even really alluded to it. There's Alleluia, Haptism, and his alternate personality, the Super Soldier. His name was Hallelujah with an H at the beginning.
I'm sorry, but you didn't give the glory to the Super Soldier.
Kagome!
Better, like if people found Soran Ibrahim to be slightly offensive, how about we go into Wong Lume and her associate?
I'm glad that bitch died.
And we haven't even mentioned Kati Mannequin.
Yeah, Kati Mannequin. And oh crap, I can never remember his name, but he was basically the Team Rocket of the series. And I never understood how he got Kati as his bride.
Yeah, Patrick Coldsour.
Yeah, what's his first name though?
Patrick.
Yes, I thought I heard Captain. Like, no, Patrick Coldsour. Dude, how on earth did he get her?
He tried really, really hard, okay?
Oh, hang on. Are you talking about the redhead dude?
Yes, the ace pilot of the Union.
Oh my god, he was so funny. He was so funny. I don't know how he got there. I'm just laughing at that.
Because this show, I realized with one of the major characters being a full-on alcoholic, a child soldier from a war in the Middle East, two brothers that were involved in the conflict in Ireland. This show needed a little comic relief. This show needed some. This show really needed some comic relief. It really did.
I have to ask you guys this. During Awakening, when you saw like his cockpit, this is like just before Setsunet enters the battlefield, when his cockpit is about to just be enveloped in else, and at that point you're like, there's no way that he can possibly escape. Were you guys sitting there like me going, yes, yes, yes? And
I wanted to see how he would get out of that.
Damn it!
I was waiting for him to die, but then it's like,
I wanted to see how he got out of that.
He's the main character.
Yeah. He's not going to die.
He's the main character.
Now.
How on earth did a side character get main protagonist immunity? I'm just saying.
Because Gundam 00 really needed some comic relief. It really did.
Yeah. But I'm still like, how does Patrick Guy get to survive and then Neo Delandio dies? I was like, how does that work?
Or you guys brought up comedic moments. The other one that makes me laugh every time I watch it is where they finally kind of unlock Marie, and she can be Marie for a while in season 2, and they're on that isolated island, and you have that last scene where everybody finds them and they're kissing. And just the reaction from everybody on the cruise, like, oh my gosh, Alleluia's got a girlfriend.
That was funny.
That was great.
And the best part is Tsuburagi, who is like sitting there literally tearing herself apart inside because she may have just lost Alleluia, and she just had this really cool heartfelt moment. It's like, what the hell went on that island?
Oh.
I laugh at that every single time I see it. It's great.
All right. Now that we have awakened the Trailblazer, do you guys want to know the ending that was in the manga?
I actually kind of do.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I said earlier that when asked, is it better? And I said, no, it's so much worse. So in a way, it is kind of better. Now, with the ending of Awakening the Trailblazer in the movie, Setsuna returns to Earth. And he makes his way back to Marina Ismail, who is now in her 80s, old and actually blind. She can't see. But in the movie, Setsuna returns, and he's still relatively younger. He's just now an innovator and has the ELS in his system, so he's silver now, and he's part alien. But in the end, they hug and embrace, and they understand each other, and oh, that's nice. They're together again. Now, in the manga, Setsuna uses his magical ELS/innovator powers, heals Marina's eyesight, makes her younger, and they end up falling in love and getting married.
Yay!
So basically, they became.
That's how it should have been. That's how it should have been.
So basically, they became Inuyasha and Kagome.
Shout
out to the buildcasters for letting me know of that one.
Oh my god.
Drak.
There was no relationship development between either of them. Why?
Because it needed to be that way. It just needed to be.
I mean,
off the bar alone is Felt Grace going, "Why do I trust men?
No.
They only break my heart."
That's how I related to Felt Grace. I'm like, don't trust men. They're all bad.
I'm sorry.
and yet what's funny is like, I think we have consensus amongst the three male members of this podcast that Felt should have ended up with Setsuna.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I do agree that, no. But you say it was a terrible ending. I thought you were going to say something like Setsuna died or something.
I say terrible in the way that it is so schmaltzy and cheesy.
I know, well, maybe because it's cheesy, but okay. But you know what? I still, like, even though I'm like, about the ending to Trailblazer, I still think it was appropriate. I still think it was appropriate.
I will still take the epilogue
I'm
creating
glad they didn't but I feel like Marina, Ismail, and Setsuna, they didn't have anything there. It was just understanding.
I will still take the creation of the celestial being ship into an actual deep space thing and reporting that that's like entirely of innovators, and now they're going to, do this. Space, the final frontier.
They should have had a Star Trek theme.
These are the voyages of the starship celestial being.
And they named the ship. They named the ship the Sumeragi. Yay!
Oh yeah, that's right.
They named it
Yeah, I forgot about that actually.
They named it the Sumeragi. This is the voyages of the starship Sumeragi. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to both go where no one has gone before.
Drak, that is so freaking cheesy.
I want that
Seriously, for the ending of Trailblazer, they should have. I think they should have at least, Setsuna goes and reunites with bloody useless Marina, but then hug whatever, then leaves her, and then goes back to Felt. They have this tender moment. Then that would have been a nice ending.
Well, in the movie, it would have been Tieria.
It would have been Tieria, yeah.
They did go off into deep space together.
Well, what's interesting is, like, when I saw some of the early translations that were coming out of Awakening before it released, is that when they showed off that scene, and granted, it was based off of people seeing it in the theaters, it was actually, they weren't going to go off and just go into deep space. They were supposed to go to the Elsa's actual home world. And I'm kind of glad they left things open-ended the way they did, because that's actually a lot better than just going from here to there and just doing that kind of diplomatic mission. I'd much rather see like a Gundam series, this never happened, where they went off on their own Star Trek journey.
I love that. Love it.
Yeah.
But we have Macross for that, so,
Yes, we do. Now, let's see. On the Sumeragi, who would be the pop singer that would empower all of the mobile suits?
It would probably be like Marina's granddaughter.
Probably. Or actually, no. Let's be honest, because it would be the schoolgirl who we were obligated to follow throughout the whole movie and nobody gave a crap about, and yet we still had to highlight her that she was a member of the crew of the Sumeragi. People know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that was a reference.
Well, because she had like that half silver face because she had successfully merged with the Elses. And let's see, what was worse, that girl or Mina trying to constantly hit on Billy? Never mind, that was worse because that was comic relief right there.
Yeah,
Billy.
But it was funny. But I think all in all, we will, no matter what we say about Gundam 00, it's definitely needs to be recognized more. I'm sure you all agree.
And here's the thing, like, if you haven't seen Awakening of the Trailblazer, I will give you the one thing as a Gundam fan that you care about. It did have one of the most badass battles that has happened throughout Gundam in its entirety. And that is the rough equivalent of, and I'm sure Scott's going to appreciate this because he's watched Babylon 5, the recreation of the Battle of the Line. Yeah, the final defense of Earth actually trying to fight off the Elses. That was actually pretty badass how they filmed that, how they created it. I especially love the fact that we got to have the Kira Yamato montage with Lock-On, and he just has the multiple targets locking on. He's like, oh, and now we're targeting without firing. Wait, Lock-On, you actually locked on to every one of them, so you were targeted and firing.
Yeah, like, well, what's up with that?
Yes. I mean, I love it. It's great, but you were technically targeting and firing. Just saying.
But yeah, I mean, what do you, I was going to ask also, just the thing, I know, like, I agree about the battle of the Trailblazer was, friggin' epic, but I think every fight in Gundam 00 was epic.
Yes.
Also, I mean, I had a question, like, for all of you, which was, I always ask this about any anime, like, what was your favorite, opening and endings? Because I love the music to any of the Gundam series. Seed was what made me really fall in love with the musical side of things for Gundam. I think my favorites would be the second opening of the first season, which is Ash Like Snow.
Yes, I love that one.
And there was the Gundam, there was a second ending on season 2, Trust You. That was so pretty, like, holy crap pretty. And then there was I
actually like that Trust You played when Lyle eventually murders Ali and he comes to his realizations with Anu. That was actually really powerful. And
it was.
A lot of people, I know a lot of people who question, like, shouldn't we have more of a resolution music for the fact we killed off that bastard? But no, that was actually a lot more appropriate.
Oh no, I'm demonetized. Goodbye.
He needed to die amongst the schmaltz, okay? He needed Disney music to play him out.
I'm just going to go ahead and take the most basic answer and say, as much as I liked Ash Like Snow, for me, Daybreak's Bell, the first opening, is the one that still resonates with me the most. Maybe because it was the first opening, and then they brought it back at the very end of the series. And that one was just like, oh, we've come full circle, and this is a series that I love with all my heart, and now it's come full circle and giving me a call back to this thing. Yay! But yes, Ash Like Snow as well.
See, for me, it's because you put in the caveat of endings, and a lot of the endings I actually didn't like for this one, but this was unique in the fact that I liked every single opening that Gundam 00 provided, and that doesn't happen with a lot of these. So, for example, like, I know a lot of people love Just Communication from Wing. I am more in the camp of Rhythm Emotion. I like that a lot better. And this one, if I have to pick one, if it's okay, I'm going to divide amongst the seasons, and I'm going to pick the Daybreak's Bell. I love that a lot more than Ash Like Snow. And then for season 2, I like, I don't know the actual pronunciation, but it's the Overworld first opening for season 2. That was the That was the first
fleeting
download.
and it's fleeting and everlasting. That's like my favorite.
Fleeting and Everlasting. I love that one. That was actually the first 00 MP3 that I downloaded. Like Day Breaks Bell and Ash Like Snow, I kind of sat there and I wasn't cool on them. But the second I heard Fleeting and Everlasting, I had to have it.
Yeah,
If I had to pick ending themes, you brought up I Love You, I Trust You. I love that. But the other one that I liked early on in season 2, I don't know its name, but it was the one that kind of plays out the episodes. Not the official ending, but it was the one that played them out. And I don't know the name. It was like, I loved how that was basically kind of a resolution for anything that was going on with the characters in that particular episode. So, for example, when Colonel Smirnoff and Marie say goodbye and they go off and live their own lives, I thought that was a really appropriate tune for all of them to go through.
What about you, Scott?
Well, I'm like you. I like Ash Like Bell for like the whole series because, well, I guess I'm a little critical with my music. I felt like the first opening was it was good, but it kind of like it's a little basic to me. Like opening 2 had a little more character to it that went along with what was going on in the series at the time. And I kind of like I don't know if I'm the strange one or not, but I like the opening 2 of Friends because it had the awesome guitar riff that was there at the right moment in time. Whenever sad moment happened or anything, like it was so fitting, And Red Song was pretty good, and I like how this Japanese singer can actually speak English. That she's singing pretty well.
Yeah, I was surprised with the I Love You, Trust You one when they started singing in English. I'm like, oh, this actually sounds really good. Good pronunciation. Like, get a thumbs up from me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, look, I'm a sucker for any of the music in any of the Gundams. Like, I'll just listen. I could listen to the soundtracks like for hours and hours.
Have you listened to Gundam Thunderbolt yet?
Oh,
nope,
man.
Never seen it.
I've got a Blu-ray of it. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
No spoilers, but that I would say up until this point, except for maybe Seed, Gundam Thunderbolt is my favorite Gundam soundtrack probably ever.
God,
is it better than The Winner from 0083?
Off the top of my head, I can't say, but Gundam Thunderbolt is really high up there for me.
Okay, I'll check it out when I get there.
It might be 1,000 years before I get there, David, probably.
I told you, Lita, we're going on a Gundam journey. I told you that.
You're going to take me on a Gundam journey. Let's just cover every Gundam series with all you guys. Let's just do that.
And this is the parent coming out of me, but as soon as you said that, immediately my brain went to, we're going on a mission, start the countdown.
Oh my God.
The wheels on the Gundam go round and round. Round,
right here on the Magic Gundam.
And then we have strange magical Gundam series, a magical weird spin-off that just suddenly happened.
Well, technically there is a magical girl Gundam, so...
Yes, that's right.
And
that's
again,
right.
we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
No way. You mentioning this now to me. You cannot just do what other people usually do, mention shit and then not elaborate on it.
No. See, no. We're gonna leave that because, like I said, we're planting a little bit of Gundam for you, Lita.
See, Lita, you can't experience it until your hand glows with an awesome power. It's burning repels to defeat you.
It's not lying.
I don't know when that will be.
Not lying.
But seriously,
that's all you get. That's all you get.
Yep.
That's all I get. But just before we wrap all this up, what is your current favorite Gundam right now? You probably have already said your answers, but still, you tell the folks that are listening to this what your favorite Gundam is.
I'm thankful that the fandom has kind of changed over the years because as much as I like Wing, it was the Gundam series that I started on. Double O is superior in a lot of ways. Like, I like Wing, but occasionally now when I go back and watch Wing, I laugh at it because there is a lot of schlock in Wing.
Wing does not hold up well.
It really doesn't. In fact, it's kind of funny. Like, my partner on my other YouTube channel just barely watched it, and he got to the scene where Lady Un murders somebody midair. You know the scene I'm talking about? He's like, no! Physics dictates that can't happen! And it's like, yes, but that's Gundam Wing. That's the way it goes. So I gotta say, Double O is amongst one of my favorites. If I were going to like top 3 it, Double O, followed by Age, and finally Build Fighters. I love what the Build Fighter series has done for the Gundam legacy as a whole.
Nice. What about you, Scott?
I'm still thinking about it. I feel like...
What do you do think?
Well, as much as I loved Gundam Wing on Toonami, like, I've been enamored with the original series for so long. It's about the same time. Just like... And I also read, like, Tomino's original vision of the original Gundam, and I read manga, so I feel like that's my favorite one. And second one is probably Turn A, which is probably a weird choice, but...
Not at all.
Wow. I'm surprised you didn't even give Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn a mention, because it's your avatar! Like,
Oh, that's right. I've got that to look forward to.
You say that like it's a bad
Okay.
thing.
Well, it's
And
UC, isn't it?
There are some more great weird-ass Gundam names with that one, too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not ragging on Unicorn. I think I've seen the first episode.
I'll stop with
but-
that.
I've seen the first quarter of the first episode, and then I didn't.
But Scott,
I thought
honestly,
Unicorn was
I am
really good.
so tired of Universal Century. I need to get out of it.
Then take your break and come back, okay?
Go.
Because I think that's
You'll
the
be
only
there.
other one that's been done in UC, isn't it? Because like then we went that long stint, and then we did Unicorn, and that was the last one aside from like the origin that we went into
And
it, right?
Thunderbolt and
Thunderbolt does,
yeah,
Okay.
Thunderbolt and Narrative are going to be UC.
yes.
I will enjoy my time in the alternate timelines, and then I will.
And then you'll come back. Like
And
it's
I will-
They
very,
always-
like
They always come back to the
Oh.
Universal Century. They always
Yeah.
I
come
won't come back. Goodbye. This
everything
will be
does. Like even
will be the
Double O
last
kind
time I
of
talk about
efforts to-
Gundam ever.
Oh, no.
I'm just gonna say this: if it's better than Victory, that's a victory in my eyes.
Oh,
Pardon the
it
pun.
absolutely is.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Like yes,
Thunderbolt
That's like
and
my
Unicorn.
one play
Yes,
right now.
very
I'm so
much
done with Victory.
good. You should be done with Victory.
You know, you keep bringing up this victory. It just makes me want to watch it. See, I like doing the opposite of people. They say, don't watch.
Okay. Like I'm not. I won't say don't watch Victory Gundam, Lita. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying prepare yourself. Prepare
okay.
yourself.
Yeah.
Seriously, I prepared myself when people kept saying, no, do not watch School Days.
I'm
And
sorry.
I'm
I have to make this joke. You're not going to get it now, Lita, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Gundams on motorcycles.
Okay, I have seen School Days, and it's really, I have very different opinions to what people think about it. Like, it's not the worst anime I've ever seen. It's actually quite clever, actually, honestly. But that's for another time for me to discuss. But as for favorite Gundam, currently right now, it's always been Seed since, I realized, wait, shouldn't have watched Destiny. No, should have watched Seed first, because there was so much that
Yeah.
confused me when I
You
watched
needed
Destiny
Seed first to make Destiny work.
I know, but my friend at the time, she didn't even know, and she only had Gundam Destiny. I didn't even think to look it up. I just didn't at the time. But hey, at least it made me curious to watch Seed. Of course,
Yeah.
it made me want to watch Seed. But yeah,
Would you say
Seed.
the seed was planted?
Indeed.
Great pun. Yes.
Could you say she went into the seed mode?
No.
I don't know
I'm
what
no
that's
good
called.
at
I don't know if it's
puns.
ever been explained, but that's what it is.
It's just super mode.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
The seed explodes, and all of a sudden we can perform at amazing capacities.
How does the seed come back together?
Oh, dear.
How does that work?
That's a very good question, Scott.
yeah.
What will not be answered?
Nope.
Before I conclude this podcast, I have to ask the question, what do you guys think about the recent announcement that we had that we're getting a certain live action movie?
I'm already tired of talking about it.
I'd rather not talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, even if Sunrise is taking the reins of most of it, like, it's still a live action film. Like, what are they going to do?
Okay, so for the record, the only thing that the internet has irritated me on this subject is this is not the first one.
Yeah,
I have seen the first one.
Oh my god.
The first one can jump out of a
too.
dick.
Which was the first one? Because I probably don't know the first one.
G Savior. It was done by a Canadian company.
And
Okay.
let's just not talk about G Savior ever.
No, it doesn't exist.
Just like we don't talk about Dragon Ball Evolution.
Right.
Let me
That's
put it
exactly
this way.
right.
Gundam
I have
fans,
no idea what you're talking about.
if you want to look me in the eye and say that G Savior is better than Pacific Rim, you get the F out right now. You get the F out.
Who's
That's a
arguing
ban.
that?
That's a ban.
Yeah, that's
Anyone saying that is
bad.
banned.
Oh no,
That's a ban.
Well,
That is an
I'm
IP
sorry.
permaban.
Of course I had
IP
to ask
address.
it. What if I said, guys, I'm excited? I'm joking.
I would say you're trolling. I would say stop trolling.
Yeah,
It was
don't do
cute.
it.
Alright,
To see the Gundam show up
I'll go
in
make
Ready
a
Player
tweet
One.
about it. Be like,
It was cute to see the Gundam show up in Ready Player One. Okay, that was cute. I was okay with it, but then they announced the live action movie, and I'm just like, okay,
they're running out of
Nope.
ideas.
this has the exact same
Just a
problem
nope.
that the long rumored Robotech movie or Macross movie, whatever you want to call it, or any other mecha movie that has been put on that docket and forever remained in development hell. It just doesn't work. How do you make Gundam work in a live action format?
We got 2 Pacific Rim movies. Leave it alone. Like I said,
We have a giant robot film.
I'm already tired of talking about this. I'm already tired of it.
It's okay. Well, we're gonna have. I'll probably want to talk about it once the live action film comes out, probably, and then we can just get drunk.
Don't invite me on
talk
that
about
one,
it
Leah.
then.
Don't invite me on that one.
I've already said that I will see it, but I'm not expecting the world. Like I'm actually expecting
Yeah.
it to be
Hey,
passable.
what if it surprised you?
Then great, because the literally the expectations that I have for a live action Gundam movie are so low that all it can do is go up.
Mine are low. I'm sorry. I had to bring up the question. I had to ask. So.
Actually, I'm
But
kind of
obviously-
surprised you didn't bring up the other movie,
Oh shit! What was the other one?
the Double O continuation.
Yeah.
Yes! Oh my
Yes,
god!
yes.
What's wrong with me?
We
Okay.
talked
The
about
one-
that on APOS a while back.
The one that me and Lita kind of got in an argument about, because I'm like, well, okay,
Yeah.
Awakening of the Trailblazer happens, so how does this work? Do we just treat it like Awakening never happened? I don't
I don't know. I'm just curious at the same time. It's like, oh, I'm not sure about this, but it's like, well, we just gotta wait and see. But
Let's just all be
But
honest.
it will
We're gonna get.
it will
screwed,
be
and it's
all
gonna be a
about-
Gundam 00 dating sim.
It will be all about Marina and her new song that will save the world.
Damn it!
Damn it.
oh yeah, are any of you guys planning to buy the Ultra editions from Nozomi Entertainment?
If I was
00.
a fan,
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna get the Right Stuff collection. I don't know if that's the same thing.
It is the same thing.
Because what's
The-
funny is, like, I love 00. I don't own it. Mainly because all the stores around me and Amazon for a while there, it was out of print, and I didn't want to pay $150 for half of a season.
I'm so far gone as far as buying any physical media. I'm so far gone from that. I love Gundam 00, but I feel no need to own it when I can watch it on the interwebs legally anytime I want. Please support the official release.
Please support the official release. Please, please, please. I love the fact that Hulu has it, but this is one of those few where I would want to own the physical copy just to say that I have it. The other one is Age, thankfully, that's coming out this year too.
But I think what taught me most was I loved 00, but I don't know. It's the first Gundam I've said to myself, oh, I actually don't want to own it, even though I own the movie. Oh no, what I'm going to do with that? And then what do friggin' Nozomi Entertainment end up doing? They end up announcing, oh, we're going to do Ultra Editions for Destiny and Seed. Now, in 2019, I'm just like, screw you guys.
That one I'm interested in doing just because, unfortunately, my DVDs are so old, they don't run in my players anymore. And I had all of Seed and all of Destiny, so I would love to be able to own that. The only thing that held me back from it was they announced the new dub. I'm like, I like the dub. I don't want a new dub, but thankfully they've reneged on that, and you're going to get the original dub too.
Yeah, which is good. But I already own the original box sets of both, so I'm like, I don't feel I need that. I really don't.
That's kind of the problem I'm running into is the DVDs that I have, unfortunately, my players just consider them to be too old, and you can't use them in the players anymore, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Especially considering that 00, the other reason that I want to own a physical copy of it is it holds a lot of sentimental value. It was the only Gundam series that I could get my dad to sit down and watch with me before he passed away a couple of years ago. And so at that point, I have a lot of really good nostalgic memories with 00 and watching it with him. So it's one of those things I just want to have a physical copy of 00.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. And I'm, as a collector, I really shouldn't show you any of my collection because, oh my goodness, I have problems.
I'm the exact opposite. Just give me a solid internet connection and I'm good. I don't I still have the odd problem with streaming. That's why I still find it convenient. Oh, I can put a disc in and there's no problems with that, really. I mean, I'm pretty pristine with how I keep my collection. I also live in a single apartment by myself with not a whole lot of space.
Yeah.
True.
Makes
sense. True. Oh my goodness. Well, I think we're about done talking about Gundam 00 and everything. Is there anything else that anybody would like to add?
Yes, we are.
Are we?
Yes.
Well,
yes,
we missed the whole Louise and Saji deal. We could go into that. And I'm just curious, just my personal opinion, what is you guys' take on the Thrones? I can't remember the brothers and sister.
Damn it! I was hoping we would get through the entire podcast without talking about them.
Oh,
damn it!
Okay. Well, my bad. Okay, we can end it. We can end it.
I don't know what you're talking about. They don't exist.
All right.
Oh, you mean they're useless things?
So basically, they're the equivalent of the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA. We just don't talk about them. They didn't exist.
I love Gundam 00, but it's not perfect.
It's not perfect by any stretch. But all good series are flawed.
Yeah, nothing is perfect at all.
So,
even the innovators.
No.
That's what I have to say about them.
Yeah, sorry, Drak. I don't really want to talk about them. I'm just like, why are you here? So
that's pretty much. No, that's my kind of viewpoint on it as well. But I've actually talked to a few people who like those characters and thought they were compelling villains. I'm like, are we talking about the same thing? I mean, Ribbons was a bad.
Those are the kind of people that get blocked.
Okay, all right. I will take that.
I like your attitude, David.
But I'm curious. I'm at least curious on the Louise and Saji because it sounded to me like people had stuff to say on them. My only thing that I had to say was Saji is whipped.
Yeah, he's whipped.
Yeah, he is.
How could he's just a bit of an imbecile.
And not just whipped. I don't think he was actually getting any.
No, he really wasn't. No.
No.
Because if you
I mean,
Made it
consider
even
and
worse.
this is probably going to piss people off, but to me, Louise Holloway is always, to me, considered to be the female version of Shin Asuka. And so at that point, he couldn't have been getting any.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually. You know, I used to be a massive diehard fan of Shin, and I mean, I still kind of like Shin, but not as much as I used to. But, you know, it's, you know, we go from, you know, life is perfect, and then they just end up having a psychotic break.
Yeah. And that, like, Louise actually had a really good kind of start because she was like the perky person to help Saji get through the hard days, but then they gave her all that tragedy, and then she became roughly, I hate the Gundams, I hate everything they stand for. I need to take my
I was
medication.
just laughing every time she saw the enemy
you know,
in that.
again, she had seen some stuff. She'd been through some
I know,
stuff.
but it's just like, oh God, life is harder for others. It's a series.
Life is hard in Gundam. If you're in a Gundam series, if you're in a Gundam series, invest in a good therapist.
Anime should have a good therapist. All of them.
Maybe that's why a lot of people obviously avoid the Gundam or just the mecha genre because of all the tragedy, which I can't really blame anybody, but
getting
then
from
again,
the consensus here is that roughly what Louise needed was what happened with Shin and Lunamari at the end of at least one of the endings of Seed
no, do not
where they
get me
just
started
get on the moon and they have a good cry.
Shin and Lunamari. Do not get me started on them too. Like seriously, I'm gung ho about that. Just good God.
I'm happy that we went this direction with Louise. I needed to get that out. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's why I said, has anybody got anything to add? But anybody else got anything to add? No?
Nope.
David?
I think we're okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're done.
Wow. Well, I feel like are we all glad that we all got our feels out now about Gundam 00? Now we've educated others. Hopefully they take away something from this.
I just feel so gracious that there are people outside of just me that like Double O. And I'm going to go and have myself a good cry.
Oh,
just probably listen to
Watch
I
it.
Love You while
watch it.
I haven't.
Seriously, just watch it. If you haven't already,
It's good.
what the fuck are you doing? Just watch it.
You know, I have a feeling this will not be the last time that we all talk about Gundam because I don't want it to be the last time. I think you're all feeling the same, correct?
Well, I'm like, if David gets you going on G, I want to be part of that because
Yeah, that was fun. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I will definitely do it. I also
Lita.
Okay.
All I'm saying, Lita, we're taking a trip to Neo Sweden. And
Why are we taking a trip to Neo Sweden?
Because
find
magical
out.
Gundam.
you'll see.
Oh, okay.
You'll see.
Okay, right. So that this doesn't end up being the last time we reunite to talk about Gundam.
You need
guys
to move around to Neo Mexico so that she can get to know our favorite Gundam ever that came out of that series.
Yes.
Tequila Gundam.
Okay. Let me finish.
Sorry.
So this is not the last time we talk about Gundam. Why don't all of you have to agree on the next Gundam series you want me to watch? Because I haven't watched one for a fair while. So you'll have to pick one, and you'll have
I am
to
halfway
agree.
tempted to say War in the Pocket.
Ooh, that's good.
I feel like it should be War in the Pocket to go in a
Now remember,
completely
I'm a
different
girl,
direction.
so you gotta consider a few.
Even
things
better
for me.
I'm
pretty open. But
one of the main protagonists in War of the Pocket is a woman.
Oh.
Yeah. It actually is.
So what
Correct
year
me if
is
I'm
War
wrong,
in
David,
Pocket from, by the way?
The first female Gundam pilot.
I think
Right?
so.
Indeed.
Yeah, in
What-
UC history,
what- Is War in the Pocket from the 90s or 80s?
It was like 86, 87, I believe.
Okay.
Hold on, I have a DVD of this.
Yeah, it's based in the Universal Century, but the cool part is that where most series kind of take it from the Gundam's perspective, a lot of the protagonist in this is actually told from the other side, from the Principality of Xeon.
1989.
Doesn't say on it. Doesn't say
Oh,
on it.
okay. All
And
right.
it's 6 episodes.
Well, there
6
you have it.
episodes
There
and
you have
from
it, folks.
1989.
This will not be the end. I have to now watch War in the Pocket.
I would also... I think you would enjoy this, just given the discussion, because I would recommend Seed and Seed Destiny to you, but you've already seen them. I would also recommend Gundam Age. I think Gundam Age is one of those, Lita, given what I know of you, that I think you would enjoy a lot out of.
But we're doing
Okay.
War in the Pocket first.
Exactly.
Okay, we're doing War in the Pocket. All right. There it is. War in the Pocket for next time. But seriously, all in all, I really hope everybody enjoyed listening to our podcast about Gundam 00. I'm so excited we finally got to do this after 2 months of on and off planning. You know, time zone wise, it's not easy if anybody does podcasting and that kind of stuff. But I would like to thank David, DJM. Definitely go follow all of his podcasts that he does. We do APOS and It's in Season. Hopefully I'm not getting that
That's
all wrong.
A plus, A to the P to the O double S, the anime podcast of some sort. There's It's in Season with myself, Shay Tari, and my buddy Cody Anderson.
He stole my co-host.
That's okay.
It's true.
Did you?
And Sports Odds and Ends that I record and produce, and I'm going to be a guest on Buildcasters soon, where we also talked about Gundam 00. And at Please Call Me DJM on Twitter, and I do podcasts a lot.
He's the most friendliest guy you'll meet on Twitter, in my opinion. And also have to thank Drak. You should definitely follow him on his channel. He does so much video game podcast stuff. Definitely follow Drak.
Yeah, I actually completely forgot to bring up my podcast. I do 3 of them, and in fact, you guys can check out, it just barely went live last night. The Why We Geek podcast for July this month is going to be on JRPGs in honor of Octopath Traveler. So you guys can check that out. And then I also do the Run in the Ropes podcast, which is a pro wrestling podcast with my buddy David Vito. And of course, the Geek News Reviews and Opinions podcast, which records every Friday night.
Nice. And then lastly, I'd like to thank Scott, a fellow blogger. He runs his blog Mechanical Anime Reviews, and he also is a part of another podcast called Innomate Podcast, which consists of a group of fellow blogger friends. So definitely give Scott a look in. Definitely.
Yay, the less impressive one of the group.
Oh, and that's so not true. Your mecha knowledge is like up there, seriously.
Yeah.
It is.
I feel elevated.
And I feel I didn't even say what I did in the beginning of all of this.
Well, then go ahead.
Then
sir.
again-
Who are you again?
Yeah, why
who
are we
am I?
here again?
Well, I'm known as.
I don't know. We're talking about a series or something.
I don't know.
I'm known
What
as
else
as my friend, another fellow friend, Jiro, the hero, says. He calls me Thug Leader. Hashtag Thug Leader. You can look it up in Twitter, but I'm really just a diehard Sailor Jupiter fan, and I took the name Leader Kino because, well, yeah. I'm just somebody that does too many things on the internet. That's all everybody needs to know, really. But seriously, all in all of everybody's links, I'll put all the linky links down below for you to check out. And yeah, I really hope everybody enjoyed listening to this. And hopefully next time we will be talking about War in the Pocket. And as for when that will be, I have no idea. We have to do that to our schedules. But for now, everybody say bye.
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 Goodbye.
Thank you for
Farewell.
listening.
Amen.
This
I like that a lot better.
This concludes our broadcast day.
愛はいつも私の傷つけるだけって君はつぶやいて信じることが怖くて泣いたんだ